Hi, I'm Daisy,
Hi, I'm David.
and we're the MSA Crusaders. Welcome to another episode of MSA Crusaders. Today we are here with special guest Paul. How are you doing today, Paul?
I'm having a pretty good day today, Daisy. Thank you. How about
Hey,
you?
hey, Paul.
Hey, David. It's
I
wonderful
see.
to meet you too.
Thank you. I see an awesome fish behind you. Could you tell me something about that fish?
It was a metal art dealer that had various um, marine life, and he had a yellowfin tuna that was just incredible. And so I talked to him about it, and long story short, I ended up going home with it.
That's
But it's
nice.
very lifelike.
And did you
That's,
steal his
okay.
fish?
No, I didn't steal his fish. I paid him for it. He offered it for sale, but it would be hard to run with that size of a piece of art up underneath your arm without being noticed.
Yeah, you get some paper cuts of the metal. Yeah, that's for
That's
sure.
right. That's right.
So, Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself. I hear you're from Virginia, married, kids, and are in the club with MSA.
Thank you. I'm Virginia born, grew up in North Carolina, got a Southern accent, came back to Virginia. Not that Virginia doesn't have a Southern accent, but
True.
I
You sound like me.
I kind of do, Daisy. We kind of got that drawl, don't we?
Yeah.
But I just had a real passion for life growing up. I was blessed with two good parents and had a good childhood growing up, and um, surrounded by really good people and mentors, and we'll talk about a couple of them in the show, I suspect. But I more recently, before I was diagnosed with MSA, I was a duathlete, so I was running and cycling.
Oh,
And
nice. Did you
um,
ever get any like professional competitions or anything like that?
not not professional, semi, competition level certainly, but nothing professional. One of our daughters is she actually has her pro card with the Ironman series.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
That's
wow.
awesome.
So
I hear that's the tough of the tough, the Ironman series, no?
it is, yeah. So I competed for several years and developed some heart issues, and that sidelined me for pretty much for good from that point on from doing any type of running. I could still cycle and such like that, but on a more limited basis. Having grown up in Virginia, my heart's here. Most all of my family's here. Both of our children are living in Virginia now, and I have three beautiful grandchildren. Get to spend time with them on a regular basis. So
How old are
truly,
they?
they are 6, 9, and 12.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Boys, girls?
the youngest is a boy, and then the middle and the eldest are girls. And the eldest just got back from space camp, which is something that I had always wanted to do as a child.
Oh, how fun.
So I get to catch up with her in a couple days, and I'll hear about all of her adventures there. But I was really excited for that opportunity for her.
Are you talking like in Houston, Texas, and Port Canaveral type NASA?
Huntsville, Alabama. Yeah.
Got you. Yeah, everyone always forgets about Huntsville. That's a big facility too. That's true.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting and fun conversation you'll get to have with your granddaughter.
Definitely.
So you're
So I've
married?
I've been pretty active over throughout my lifetime, and it's an adjustment for me now, with having MSA and also having heart failure on top of that. It's it's really complicated things for me.
Okay.
Just when I learned tricks to deal with my heart failure, I had the onset of MSA, which I feel like, and we'll talk about the timeline of my experience with MSA, but I had.
Yeah, that's what I was supposed to ask you. When were you diagnosed, Paul?
So they started talking to me about MSA. I had a sleep study doctor back a few years ago that threw MSA out to me. And he's like, I can't diagnose you, but I feel confident that you have some movement disorder, and it's from your issues that you're experiencing. I have to wonder if it's Parkinson's or multiple system atrophy or something along those lines. So that's when the term was first introduced to me.
And that's really something different. I've never heard it being found or mentioned, first of all, from a sleep study. So,
Yeah, I've had REM behavior disorders since I was about 20 years old. And then it was sleepwalking, and that went away. And then I started talking in my sleep, which probably got me in trouble a couple of times. I don't know. That was a daunting experience, to say the least. But that went away. And then more recently, in the past 3 to 4 years, I became combative in my sleep. So my dream state, whatever I'm dreaming, I will reenact, act it out.
Well, that person that was that an ENT, or who was it that ordered your sleep study?
Primary care physician ordered the sleep study. He's an internal medicine doc, very good. He's a concierge physician, and just he's very in tune with health, and actually added mental health into his practice, since they work so closely together. So I have a therapist that I see as well as my primary care physician in the same facility.
Sounds like he's really up and to date on his research to be able to tell you that he thought you might have MSA. That's really good.
Yeah, well, he had sent me to the sleep study specialist, who was a neurologist by trade for a number of years before the hospital had him do nothing but sleep studies. He had some knowledge of movement disorders, and so he suggested it, and that's when my journey really began, and I started seeing other neurologists and other specialists to try to figure out what was going on.
Well, the sleep study doctor who performed it, oversaw it rather, a positive REM sleep study is automatically puts you to Parkinson's or Parkinsonisms, like, A plus typical like MSA. So whenever you see actually REM behavior and it's not associated with anything else that's going on with the body, it's automatically a deficiency of the dopamine in the brain, which is a neurodegenerative disorder, such as all the different types of Parkinson's, like MSA. So, yeah, normally you don't, like Daisy said, you don't hear that from a sleep study doctor or who's conducting it, because they want other neurologists to make that determination, not even to suggest it. So that's kind of unusual to hear. But yeah, they were right on about that.
They were right on about it.
Yeah, our REM precedes almost all cases of Parkinson's and MSA. I mean, by years. I've read up to 8 to 10 years before the actual onset of MSA symptoms or Parkinson's. So like mine, I had very similar awakenings in my sleep before, but never really acting them out. But years later, 3, 4 years ago, I started actually acting them out, punching and trying to kill my wife in bed. And that's like there's a little bit of a difference between waking up and acting out your dreams. But yeah, once you actually act out your dreams, then it's full blown REM.
Yeah.
I wish I would have known that because I actually was acting out my dreams in 2014.
Yeah, REM precedes. It's the number one. I don't know what the word is. It's getting over me. It's the number one indicator that you are going to have a neurodegenerative disease soon. There's a lot of research about that.
Yeah.
Opens up the floodgates, don't it?
Yeah. Well, as
Yeah.
your brain starts to deteriorate. But at the same time, losing your Putamen like I do, so your dopamine also gives you bipolarism. So, it's one thing to have bipolar, it's another one to actually have a, neurodegenerative disease. So it takes a while to figure that out sometimes. So what symptoms did you have first? You said you had REM vaguely at first, and then it started becoming more, a few years ago, started to become more active, more intense. What else did you have?
Yeah. So almost at the same time, I also experienced bowel and bladder issues, and mine are more incontinent. So I'm not given much notice,
Me too.
and
That sounds
those
fun.
those three things, the combativeness, the bowel, and the bladder, came on almost simultaneously. I mean, within a couple 3 months of one another. Bowel and bladder came on at the same time.
Yeah, my REM, my RBD hit first, then my ED and urinary, the gastrointestinal, and then everything else followed out to those three. So I'm pretty similar to yourself in that regard.
Yeah, mine was more RBD, then I had heart failure, and then I started having some unexplainable neurological issues around 2010, and hypoxia in 2015, and then bowel and bladder issues and worsening RBD in 2020. And then in 22, I was rushed to the emergency room with just severe pain, and I thought it was my heart because it was just up underneath my rib cage, but it ended up I had an ileus in my small intestines. And so basically my hemoglobin levels and hematocrit levels had gotten so high in my system, my blood flow just came to a stop. It was as if I was having a stroke.
Your blood is actually thickening too much. Is that
Yes.
what you mean? Okay.
Yes. So on the airlift to a regional hospital, the pressure actually blew out the IVs that they had put in me. And
Wow.
I had essentially bled out a couple of pints before I even got to the hospital. So I was quite the sight when we landed.
Scary.
I remember one of the nurses on the pad when they were taking me out of the helicopter, she just looked at me and she said, "Jesus Christ." And and I knew then I was in for
That was
an experience.
That was nice of her, huh?
Yeah,
Gave you quite a scare.
yeah. But I stayed in ICU there for a week, and because they couldn't perform exploratory surgery because they had given me the stroke meds. And that was in 22, and then I was diagnosed in March of this year with MSA, and I'm in the program at VCU.
MSAP?
I was diagnosed with MSAP, but I went back for a multidisciplinary meeting back earlier this month, the 2nd of this month, and they identified that I exhibited both P and C issues, as does my physical therapist as well. They asked
Now, when you
the
say
other day.
when you say multidisciplinary, you mean you went to an appointment where many doctors looked at you at the same time?
Yes.
I had that at a Mayo Clinic a couple of years ago, last year or a year or two ago, and that's the appointment I actually have tomorrow down here at IU Health in Indianapolis downtown. Is every 6 months they have the same type of meeting where they invite the select few, which are the bad ones like us, and all the doctors would come in and take a look at you and see what they can offer. So how did that actually go for you? Did you get any benefit from that?
It went really well. So I had the primary movement disorder neurologist and his team. I had the autonomic neurologist and his team, and I had a psychologist that met with me. The autonomic neurologist is a really important component of the multidisciplinary program.
How does one find themselves lucky enough to get one of those appointments?
Just having a center for excellence in your community. So VCU in Richmond, Virginia has one of the few on the East Coast. It's a fairly new program for them. I think we have about a half a dozen that are enrolled in the program.
Yeah, I know for IU Health over here, it's invite only. It's only the MDSs look at people and say who could benefit the most from it, because having many complications like MSA or ALS, PSP, things like that. It wouldn't be someone that has a disease that's like one doctor could take care of it, or maybe even two. But something like MSA. Yeah, I was very surprised that IU Health, Indiana University, had that, because usually you only see those from Vanderbilt, from Mayo, from Cleveland Clinic, things like that, University of Florida. I'm very surprised. I mean, I'm happy tomorrow for my appointment. I mean, definitely, you have some benefit from it as well.
You would think they'd have something like that in Texas.
I'm sure they do in a university somewhere. It has to be a university, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Right, Paul?
Yeah, correct. Teaching hospitals.
And that's where Dr. Dahl worked, so we thought that would have been a good spot to get into one of those.
Well, definitely ask for it. I would say, like, to Daisy's point and to what Paul said, we don't know these things even exist until either a doctor tells us or we ask. So anybody with MSA who's, especially if you have more than a couple of issues like we are,
Yeah.
You want to ask them, like he said, Center of Excellence. They're called many things. Like ours down here is called CCC, but you ask them, like, do they have these programs where you come for one day, doctors will look at you and try to help you out? Definitely ask for it, because if not, that help might be there and you can get it, but you're not, because you didn't. Yeah, for your mouth. Yep.
Well, this is the first I've heard about it today. So
well,
yeah.
One of the things that prior guests have talked about on your podcast is you really do need to advocate for yourself. And if you are unable to yourself, is to have a really good advocate work on your behalf. Otherwise, you get lost in the shuffle. I stay in constant communication with my team of physicians through my chart, just to let them know how things are going on. My chart's great, at least it is in this area, in that I can send daily test results like blood pressure readings and ECGs and all kinds of information to them that they can use and study in between my appointments with them.
Yeah, and Paul, to stress this again, so Daisy and I talked about this for a split second before you got on. You mentioned my chart. These, Epic, whatever. I have my chart powered by Epic. It is so important to view constantly your medical records. I mean, not just from allergic medication standpoint or procedures or whatever, but like literally.
Find
So
out
I
what the
was,
doctor's saying about you.
yeah.
Exactly.
I was told yesterday, and what they said this morning on the paperwork, night and day. And you
Yes.
don't do anything if you don't attempt to make the effort to log in and search for these doctors, these visit summaries, these clinic summaries, right?
Right. So you dial it down. I mean, there's a section for notes,
Yeah.
which is that's to me one of the more important places to take a look at and see what the doctor is interpreting from you from that meeting, because you know how sometimes you go in, you're anxious, you're having some memory issues. You may not be complete in what you need to convey to your doctors, or your physicians may not fully comprehend what you're trying to tell them. So reading through their notes is paramount. And then they have a summary of your visit that talks about the tests that you had done that day and your
That's usually what you get at the end of the visit. And then they
yeah
hand you.
yeah.
And
But
I would
the
say,
notes are key. The notes are really important to read. And I've actually gone back on several occasions and reached out to my physicians and said, that's not what I was trying to
Right.
convey to you. And
Crystal,
Exactly.
we just interviewed Crystal last week. When she sat with her mom, she had a binder that had every note from every visit. And that way it's easier to find rather than looking online sometimes. Going back, where did I see that? Where did I see that? Where did I see that? And I think that's a good idea too. It's just to
absolutely,
file your stuff by visits in that binder.
Yeah,
definitely,
especially in the many academic universities or many hospitals. I mean, I've been to 5 different companies themselves, from Mayo to I mean, we both been to Detroit, to IU, to Franciscan. I mean, so you can only attach so many organizations to each other to share documents on my chart or any other types of applications. So there are times, like, I always carry on my phone my Dropbox with all my individualized medical records from each facility. Because today, they're talking about, they didn't see the specific what I said, and I pulled it up and said, here it is. They didn't see it because I can't share Franciscan and IU Health, but I can share everybody else. So, when they have some issues.
Uh-oh. David, are you there?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of broke up a little bit there. We may lose connection because we're on David's.
You can hear me okay, right?
Yeah, there, you're back now.
you're back now.
You were just way
Okay,
out
I'll
there,
move on.
David. Way out there.
All right.
Which we
We'll
know
just
you're
forget what I
already
said.
way out there, but we won't talk about that right now.
Amen. So my mom would say.
And sometimes I'm not sure because David will kind of off move and you don't know if he's there or if he's lost connection.
I'm
Well,
not sure about the rest of our group, but I went through a lot of tests and procedures, and I have a lot of stenosis in my spine, and I had a growth on one of my vertebrae. And so last year they went in and removed one of my vertebrae and replaced it with cadaver bone, because they said it was possible that the growth on that vertebrae could be compressing the spinal column, causing my bowel and bladder issues.
The first thing they do when they suspect any type of neurological disorder, they get X-rays and CTs and MRIs of your brain and spine to see if you have any lesions or masses or tumors, because that's usually the first thing that they find causes these symptoms.
Yeah, I've been in so many wrecks that I'm constantly having X-rays of my neck and spine.
Yeah.
They weren't my fault, by the way.
So how has MSA affected you, Paul? We haven't spoken at all about how limiting. We mentioned it's limiting, but how limiting is MSA to you?
It's becoming, the past several months have it's really progressed over the course of the past several months. I was doing some volunteerism here locally, and I've had to stop some of it just because it's not safe for me. I lose my balance. I have issues with oxygen and concentration. Oftentimes my brain knows what to do, but my body doesn't respond as fast as it should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I was reading this in one of our groups the other day. Do you fall when you go to fall? Do you fall backwards? Do you find yourself falling backwards, or what?
Well, that's one of the things that I'm learning in physical therapy and with my neurology team is I am more susceptible to falling backwards than forwards. Most of my falls now are from orthostatic hypotension.
Yeah.
I'll be up for a few minutes and it'll just hit me like a freight train. But
And but when a doctor suspects you have a neurodegenerative disease, like they do in a clinical evaluation at the office, they will pull you backwards from behind in the office to see if you fall. They don't push you because that's not the hallmark of neurodegenerative diseases. Falling
It's
backwards
backwards.
is the hallmark of neurodegenerative diseases. So in case anyone wonders why they do that when you go to the Mayo Clinic or everywhere else, they're trying to isolate, is this neurodegenerative or is it something else?
yeah, I've actually apologized to my neurologist on a couple of occasions. I'm like, I'm really sorry because I'm not a flyweight by any means, and so he's much smaller in stature than I am, and I flat out crushed him on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, it's scary when you got a little tiny 5-foot doctor doing that to you. Like, I don't know if he's gonna catch me or not.
Yeah, they asked for it.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did, didn't they?
Yeah. And they're very serious about, I got you. Like, my government doctor who got my Social Security, this man's frail. He's an older doctor. He's frail. I'm like, are you sure you got me, doctor? Like, he's got 90 and like 4'8". I'm like, okay.
Do you want to
your
call back
broken
up
hip.
in here?
Yeah.
Somebody to hold you up? So tell us, Paul, what year was it that you started having symptoms?
I started having symptoms around late 2020, early 21 is when they started stacking up. So increase in bowel and bladder issues and increase in REM behavior disorder.
And
Paul, I want to thank you for what you just said, because I'm not picking on anybody, but when you start reading people's MSA comments across the World Wide Web, shows my age, across the internet, when somebody gets MSA, they seem to attribute everything in their past life to MSA. And like you said, you had some symptoms from 2010 going on, but you didn't say that. You said 2020. Not everything is related to MSA at the same time. There are some things that are.
Totally. And so, there's some of us in the group that have other, I don't like this term, but other comorbidity issues. I have heart, and the issue with my heart is not related to MSA. I realize that heart is part of MSA, in a lot of instances. But for me, I had what started out as left bundle branch block. So this electrical system in my heart wasn't working right. So the left side of my heart wasn't squeezing. And so I didn't have a normal heartbeat. And so it was just a funky rhythm that I had. And I really noticed it when I became the most active and the most fit physically. And so I have a biventricular CRTD, cardiac rate synchronization therapy device in my chest. It has 4 leads, and it can outpace different heart anomalies.
And then, correct me if I'm wrong, you said it was 2021 that you were diagnosed?
I was diagnosed with MSA this year, actually,
In March, right?
in March.
Oh, okay, that's right. I'm sorry. So
That's
it took a little bit of time for you as well to get that, to know what's going on with you.
Yeah, they were each, when I would have a symptom pop up, they would look at it as a separate issue, and it wasn't until I started having the increase in the RBD and the bowel and bladder issues that it was then speculation that it could be something more that's causing these issues and not individual problems.
And I know, I want to ask if y'all got the same reaction. When you were diagnosed, it's a very hard diagnosis to hear, but were you relieved at the same time, knowing that you finally know what's going on with you?
For me, I can't say that I felt some relief finding out that I had MSA. I was actually by myself at this particular appointment.
Wow.
I decided to go to this appointment on my own, and they sat me down, spent a lot of extra time with me. Of course, I was there. I was intended to be about 3 or 4 hours. I was in the office for almost 8 hours that day. So
Wow, that's unheard of.
it was, yeah, it was quite a bit of information to digest.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly, you went by yourself to try to protect your family.
Yeah.
Are you still driving, Paul?
Yeah, I'm still talking.
No, still driving.
Oh, driving. Yeah, I'm still driving. I'm getting some gym equipment for the house so that I don't have to drive to the gym, because I'm finding out that after my physical therapy appointments and working out at the gym that I've got nothing in the tank whatsoever. So once I finish up my physical therapy, I have a couple more sessions. I'm going to get some in-home assistance and do my exercises from home as long as I'm able to.
And that comes from somebody who was vividly active in, you said, cycling and running to, this just shows how hard hitting and how quick MSA hits you. I mean, I think I'm fortunate to get MSA at, I'm 44 right now, but to get it at 41, I think I'm fortunate because I was still physically active in my age and doing everything I want to. But people aren't as fortunate as Paul to have had a history of physicality, of being fit and running and swimming, all these things, right? That prepares you for the future. But when MSA gets you, not even the Ironman competition is gonna, unfortunately, be enough to keep us going. Like Paul says, you gotta choose your battles. You want to have that battle on the floor at the gym, or you want to have it at home, a little more safe space.
That's
It's
right.
like yesterday I had swim, No, sometimes I sit in the pool and rest during the swim session. Yesterday, I just kept going for the whole hour. By the time my husband got us home, and was slowed me back out of the car into the wheelchair, I couldn't even stand up to transfer. My legs were like noodles,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm finding that the further progressed I'm becoming, the harder it's getting to move after swim. Feel like my feet
Yeah.
are stuck to the ground.
It wears you down. It gets you. I mean, Paul's had it for at least turning on MSA for 3, 4 years. So the term might be new to him, but he's been feeling it for a while, and it only gets worse. Let me tell you, and that's why I think the attitude of having the mentality of saying no to help that I speak about with myself. Some people think I'm stupid or crazy or just cynical, but they asked me today because they saw how bad I was from walking into the hospital. They said, "We got people that will shuttle you back to the parking lot. We can tell you can't walk right." I said, "No." I said, "I've got to get through this. You've got to get your mental attitude. You got to have that fortitude to keep going. As long as you can. Otherwise,
One
this
of these
thing will."
days, one of these days, you're gonna find yourself face first in the floor.
2 days ago was my first major fall. My first one, I couldn't brace myself with my reaction. In my garage, I bent down to get a extension cord, came back up, lightheaded, went back down to move it, and full-fledged into the 2x4s in the inside of the garage. And very surprised I didn't get stitches or anything at the top of my head. But yeah, it's there. I was swimming for the first time this year. I've been in the pool, but not swimming. So I went to the pool trying to actually kick my legs this year. And the hardest thing about MSA to me, Paul, is starting a movement and ending the
Yes.
movement.
And
Once I
ending
get
it.
kicking in the pool, I can kick in the pool. But starting that kick and stopping it, like I feel like a fish, and no pun intended, but I feel like I'm flopping with no control. And I realized just a few days ago that, we're going on a cruise and, we're going to be snorkeling. I hope it goes well. you know, yeah, it's interesting how, the water therapy, it does help though, being in a pool.
It
Yeah,
really does.
yeah. They just signed a script for me for water therapy, and I'm fortunate in that I have a community rehab center about 20 minutes away from home, with a pool, and so I'm going to be starting it soon. And
I think that's the
Now,
best therapy you can have with MSA.
yeah,
did you ever, I imagine they prescribe you at the very beginning or at some point they prescribe you carbidopa levodopa or cinnamon?
yeah. I'm on carbidopa levodopa now. I take three tabs 3 times a day.
So
So
it
How
is
long you
helping you.
I don't know that I'm experiencing any benefits from it. I just had a conversation with my neurologist last night about it. Um, they started me, they start you out with a lower dose. And so I started
yeah.
out with, a half a tab and then went to 1 tab. And so I'm up to 3 tabs 3 times a day. And he mentioned that I could possibly go up to 4 to 5 tabs 3 times a day.
Have you ever heard of Rotari?
I have not heard of Rotari. No.
I've been telling David about it. This is the one that I've been on since I was diagnosed. It is a time release carbidopa levodopa.
Yeah, he mentioned that there is a time released option as well, and so he's considering switching me to that, so that it could possibly be what you're taking.
I couldn't take any other. It made me too nauseous.
Yeah,
This is the only way I could take it.
that's what's happening to me right now. Is the level of nausea is
Right.
off the chart.
So has the medicine at all helped you?
I can't say that I've had a positive benefit from carbidopa levodopa.
And how long have you been on it for? Since the beginning?
Since the beginning. So since March.
Right. So you're 4 months in.
4 months in.
Which means 90% of MSA patients don't react to coverage upper levodopa, or it's very short lived. Like it takes in for a month or two, then dies off. So yeah, being on the right prescription level for coverage upper levodopa is very important. Like one pill could be the difference. I got up to the highest 3 myself, 3 times a day, for like 2 years and nothing. And my doctors just keep trying to adjust it.
Yeah.
But at some point, you got to realize it's some of my doctors. No, some because they're not sold on it's got to be MSA. Now, if I went back to the same doctors today, yeah, but that medicine it's a diagnostic tool. It works in 90% of people with Parkinson's. So if it works for you, 90% chance you have Parkinson's. But it's a good diagnostic tool to have, and I encourage you to still take it, even if it makes you nauseous. I don't mean it's in a bad way. I encourage you to still take it, at least for, they want at least 6 to 9 months to make sure your body's adapted to it, you got the right level, and then once you don't react to it, they take you off of it, and they know with good certainty that it's probably MSA rather than, like young onset Parkinson's or Parkinson's by itself.
I will say that before I started taking Rotori, had the shakes so bad, and now I maintain my level of shakes and tremors to a point where I don't have any at all. I'm sorry?
You used to have a resting tremor?
Yes.
Yeah, that's counter to most MSA. Most MSA have action tremors, but not resting tremors. So yeah, Daisy's in that 10% where, she has a type of medication like carbidopa would work for her, or like Atari, and she has a resting tremor. Like she's in that 10%. That's like atypical from MSA itself too. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what Chris was saying in her interview. I would sit there and on the couch with her and just be shaking like a leaf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went to a Parkinson's meeting in Highland, Indiana. That place I talk about all the time that supports for free all patients of Parkinson's exercises and stuff like that. And I was in there, and this doctor was giving a speech from Rush University, and everybody was shaking while sitting still. And I'm the only person who's not shaking. Like everyone was looking at me like, "Why are you not shaking?" And I'm like, "I got something different. It's similar." similar. Yeah, so it's interesting how you be in a room of 80 Parkinson's patients and you're the only one that's actually not shaking.
Yeah, I don't shake. Um, I have a real slow blink rate, so
Mm-hmm.
I experience dry eyes all day long, but I don't
You're
blink
gonna
very
double vision.
often. And I have dry mouth. A lot of patients drool. I have severe dry mouth. A lot of that's meds. Some of the meds
Yeah.
that I'm on can cause it, but it's pretty bad.
I had both dry mouth and drool.
I have the double vision for my eyes that are off center now because of my MSA. Yours is so MSA gets your eyes by not blinking enough or by going off center. So you have the other one, and you would, unfortunately, Paul, at some point you're gonna get double vision because of your dry eyes, and hopefully the wet drops will take care of it. But if not, then they give you prisms, which I refuse. So
yeah. I've been using the drops faithfully, and so I've had a couple instances of double vision that were just temporary, but I'm with you, David. As long as I can go without the prisms, the better off.
Yeah, because if you never had a migraine or experienced a migraine, you definitely will get one with prisms.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, anytime your vision changes, you get those horrible headaches. Yeah. Do you have any senses of vibrations or tremors like inside of your body, Paul? I can tremor like when you actually do something.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. particularly at night when I'm laying down, I'll have this sensation like there are, like it's a small earthquake going on. And I don't know if you've ever felt that or not, but it's like your whole body feels like the ground's shaking. And I'll look over at my wife and I was like, "Are we having a small earthquake right now?" And she's like, "I don't feel anything." I'm like, the whole bed is physically moving right now. And she's like, "No, you're not moving. We're not having an earthquake." So
Yeah, that was one of my.
you experienced that as well, David?
Yeah, that sensation is always there. It becomes permanent, and you learn to ignore it very well. The tremors, the resting tremors, you can't ignore, but that vibration, shaking, movement that you have inside your body, even though you can't really see it, will only get worse to me to a point, and it stays there. It'll become permanent, but you learn to ignore it. So the only time I see those tremors, those shaking for me, is when I actually have action tremors. Like right now, I'm trying to move my hands and they shake. When I'm trying to fix a bicycle, which I don't do, whatever, some physical activity, then you see the shake. Yeah, at least that's one part of MSA you can probably ignore and you won't think twice about it. It'll take you about a year, but you'll get over it pretty quickly.
See, I'm wondering if that what you're talking about is what I'm talking about when I refer to it as a cell phone in your pocket on vibrate.
I get that when I'm walking, or sometimes if I'm just sitting, it'll happen. But in my arms and my hands, I will get this vibration that feels almost like the vibration in your phone mic.
Yes.
Or I'll feel it in my thigh, where I would usually keep my phone in my pocket.
It's annoying, isn't it?
It's very annoying.
I've only had that sensation for my bladder. I haven't had it. What you guys described, I haven't had anything other than my bladder. So that's weird to me. Otherwise, maybe we're talking about the same thing, just different intensity levels or something.
Maybe, but I'll be thinking, did I not put my phone back on ringer, or is it on vibrate? Like it ain't even on my pocket; it's on the table. I'm like, what the heck?
Oh man! So Paul, are you interested in any clinical trials that they have, or so you've actually received an official diagnosis of MSA, correct?
I have, correct.
Okay. And are you?
I was on target to be part of the Bono trial this fall. I'd been taking Seroquel at night, and evidently that's a drug that they don't want you to take to be eligible to be on the trial. So I stopped taking Seroquel, and I had to be off of it for 6 months, which puts me into November. So that was really tough, to come off of Seroquel. It's not an easy drug to come off of, but I did. But now they're saying that the device that I have in my chest for heart failure, it precludes me from getting the high energy MRIs. So I'm only able to get like a 1.5 Tesla MRI, which is a lower energy imaging. And the sponsor for the trial is saying that I'm not eligible because I'm not able to get the imaging that they want.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Getting into trials is a lot harder than it should be.
So I'm working with my device team. They're saying that it is a possibility to get a 3.0 MRI with the device for clinical purposes. But the neurology team at VCU's wondering if, since it's not necessarily clinical, if the sponsor for the trial is going to approve it or not. So they're looking into it right now to see if I will be eligible for the trial in November.
You would think it would be so much easier to get into these stinking trials. I mean,
Absolutely.
we're just their guinea pigs.
We're just guinea pigs. And
we don't have anything to lose.
And talking to other people with MSA, our med lists we have some similarities, I'm sure, but our med lists are varied. It's,
yes,
different physicians think more outside of the box and say, well, this drug is primarily used for this, but we've seen instances where it will work with that. And I think that's the type mentality that when you're in a program with neurologists for MSA, I think that they should be thinking more outside of the box. And if you find something that's working for you, then let you take it. We're all in different stages. We're all affected similarly in some regards, but different in others.
And we don't have anything to lose. So.
And we certainly don't have anything to lose. And the physicians and research has everything to gain from it.
Exactly. You think they're be more flexible with that.
The problem is we live in a country which
is regulated and we're under the thumb.
Well, no, this is not a political statement by no means, but until they take away the ability to sue the pharmaceutical companies or the physicians or doctors, nobody's ever, they don't want to risk their name, right? Ono does not want to have their name slandered in the news because Paul is suing them for something he should never had anyway from the beginning, more likely. And B, I mean, the more you go outside these guidelines, the less accurate these tests are, but also Ono and ATH and stuff, they have BioQuest, they have to follow certain procedures for FDA and stuff, otherwise they don't get the government funding to do the research. So there are a lot of things that go into there, but if we didn't have the lawsuits, I think we would, like Paul, for example, would definitely be able to get something like that.
Well, there is the signing, the waivers to take away
like
from the lawsuit.
But it's a prenup. You can always get around it somehow, some way.
That's right.
It's just crazy.
It's a fishing pole from Walmart. It's gonna break.
Yeah. Well, do y'all have anything else to add today?
But I am happy to know that there are people that are in the trial drug studies, and if the drug is successful, it will be released at some point in time, and we'll all be able to benefit from it. So, psychologically, I'm not letting it get to me, not being able to be part of the trial drug study. I'm just treating my symptoms as best as I can and learning little tricks to get through the day and trying to keep a positive mindset.
You said it right there, Paul. That's all we can do. It really is. All we can do is keep that positive mindset and be the answer for people moving forward.
My spirit animal now is a sloth. A sloth. Because everything is just so slow motion anymore.
So, Paul, you guys mentioned earlier, as we're wrapping up a little bit, two individuals you wanted to make note of that have helped you in some way, if you want to.
Yeah. So, growing up as a child, I had a great aunt, and she was phenomenal. And she told me, she says, "Son," she says, "I want you to remember this." And I was 10 years old, and somehow I've retained it. She told me, she said, from the time that you're born till you ride in the hearse, there's not a day that is bad that couldn't be worse.
She
And
couldn't have said it any better than that, could she?
no, and so
That sounds
when
like
times,
a Southern thing.
what's that?
That sounds like it came from the South.
Yeah, it's definitely from the South. uh, it's carried me through some really challenging times in my life. And
That's great. I love it. I'm going to start using it if you don't mind. I'm going to steal that from you.
yeah, please do. I encourage you to. My dad, he was one of the many men that were affected by the toxic water at Camp Lejeune, and so he died at a young age of 70. And he instilled in me the art of random act of kindness, and it's something that I try to do each and every day is to do something kind for somebody, and it doesn't have to be um, monetary. I mean, it can be something as simple as a phone call or a letter, or um, but just taking time out of your day to try to do something nice for somebody.
Absolutely.
Do you
And
have go ahead.
if I could go back in time, there's a, I think a country song out there that, dance with your dad again. If I could just have just one more moment in time with my dad, that would mean the most to me right now, for certain.
You mentioned your father, and my last 24 hours have been hell on earth, just to put it nicely. But after my results yesterday, I thought, I lost my father when I was 19. He literally died in my hands to massive strokes and heart attacks. But he knew his time was coming. There's a backstory to that. He wished for the day that he would pass because he was in so much pain, right? So I'm not faulting him for that. I was 19. I don't know what it is to have a father past the age of 19. I mean, as an adult, a real adult in the 20s and 30s and 40s, right?
Can we even
And
go
I
to
thought
the bar and have a drink with him?
yeah, so just go deep sea fishing with him again, right? Go get some
Right,
grouper, largemouth bass, right?
right.
And I broke down last night, which hence the half Grey Goose right here. I got to go home after tomorrow and tell my daughters that they're going to lose their father at about the same time, which sucks because you want to give your kids everything, but not being able to stay alive. My oldest daughter is 19, my youngest is 12. And my 12-year-old, she knows it, but she doesn't get it. She's only 12. 12-year-olds are adults around the house, but not in the real world, right? They're good at cleaning and doing dishes, but not understanding how the real life works. My oldest daughter, being in nursing school and stuff, she gets it. But to have back-to-back generations of not, a dad that won't be there past 19 or 20 years old is horrible.
It
It
is.
is.
If you could go back, you have to instill values in your kids early because you don't know how much longer you have on this earth. For me,
David, is your wife with you?
no, she'll be here in a couple hours.
But you're not. It's the off doctor's by yourself, right?
I'm not what?
Going to the doctor's by yourself, like yesterday
Uh,
and
I did,
today.
I did the last 2 days. Tomorrow's the big one that I needed her to come down to speak for me because she knows all my symptoms and issues, and she'll speak for me. She, like Paul says, she'll be my advocate when I don't speak up.
So you've been by yourself all this time?
Yeah, they offered to come. My mother offered to, and my tough love is what you grow up on. Paul mentioned military and stuff, and there's I'm completely opposite of Paul. I hate people. I don't want to be around anybody. I don't like talking on a podcast, but Daisy makes me do it. She's going to come strangle me to death if I don't speak on a podcast, right?
He's an introvert rather than an extrovert.
I could go months without talking to Daisy, and I would feel just fine. Or my wife, or my mom. It's like, I don't like communicating, right? I like being by myself. As much as I want somebody here, I had a feeling that this week was not going to be very good, like Paul did when he got his diagnosis. And self healing time for myself in the room is worth its weight in gold to me. For other people, it helps.
Yeah, I feel you, David. I do. I'm the same way in that regard.
I mean,
And I think it's really important when you have extended family and children, in my case, grandchildren, to instill your legacy in them so that not only do they remember you, but they learn from you and they apply what they learn from you as they age.
bingo. You have to learn. Don't say you're sorry. Don't
Right.
make the same mistake twice, right?
That's right.
And my whole life, I've grown up with my kids, 1912. In my marriage, to an extent of 22 years, to learn my lessons, to not die of a heart attack and become obese or overweight or have preventable health conditions as much as possible, right? I mean, I love my McDonald's more than anybody else. Trust me, I got a little bit of it good. I'm not no purist, but I lived my whole life with my kids to not repeat the same mistakes of my father for a few areas, even my mom, my sister, right? You learn, you live and you learn. I'm a first time husband. I'm a second time, well, first time, I got two kids, first time parent. I'm learning on the second one, right? But you grow up and you do things, you provide things. And to know that you tried your best only to be the stool picked out from under you by MSA to where no matter what you do, you will not be successful. That is such a bitter pill to take.
Absolutely.
But you're right though, Paul. You have to. My kids might be angry why I yell at them at times, and it's never yelling because you didn't do the bed right. It's not. It's because you did something that there's a consequence for.
Right.
But they might get mad that you yell at them or that you chastise them from time to time. But there will be a year far from here in their future where they'll look back like I do and say, "Man, my dad was an asshole at times. He was a hardhead. But you know what? Look where I am. Look where it got me."
Kind of like the song Daddy's Hands.
Absolutely. And I started reading your book, Daisy.
What?
I started listening to your book.
Did you?
Yeah, I'm trying to get past all the pink color this, pink color that. There's so much detail in that book. Chapter 11 or 12, I believe.
Oh, you've gotten through some difficult times then already.
I promise you, I was going to do it this week. I started.
I'm proud of you, David.
I know for paying attention, right? And by the way, Paul, I take Seroquel too. I take Seroquel for bipolarism. There's like 8 types of bipolarism, but I take it for sleep. It's the only sedation medication at nighttime that keeps me to sleep. It will knock the crap out of me, but it allows me to compensate for my RBD and also bipolarism. So when you said you just can't get off of it, well, I can't last a night without Seroquel. So, and I went through a couple of clinical trials, and they were okay with Seroquel. So they don't want you to have antidepressants. It's funny, Paul. If you're on Seroquel as an antidepressant, it excludes you. But if you're on it for off-label use, they didn't say nothing to me. I'm like, okay.
Well, I'll have a discussion with them because it was singularly the best medicine that I've been on to help me with RBD.
Yeah, it is.
Seroquel.
Paul, I've taken every pill in the world for sleeping. trust me, Paul, Seroquel keeps you asleep almost always. It prevents most of these outbursts at nighttime, so I can sleep next to my wife. So
Yeah.
How's your support system at home, Paul? My last question.
Yes, the support system at home is good, David. I have a supportive wife. She has a flexible work schedule, so she's able to take off as needed. I am blessed to have my mom live just 400 yards up the road from me, and I get to spend time with my children and grandchildren anytime that I would want to. And my support system is great. I've got a really good small community that I live in that friends and members of the community will help me out as needed as things progress. So I feel good in that regard. I live in a very remote location, but I'm surrounded by a lot of caring and loving individuals.
That's very important for us.
Yeah,
Very
it
important.
is. Absolutely. And just the community within MSA Crusaders and such. I've made friends with a couple of individuals, and we talk about our days and are good and bad and indifferent, and that's really helpful as well, is to be part of this community.
It's awful and it's great that we can have that community.
Definitely.
But it is good to have, I will say, someone you can talk to that can relate to what you're going through.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Paul, to that extent, MSA just doesn't not take you down a couple pegs. There's highs and there's lows. Some days the brain does produce a little more dopamine, so some days it produces less. But everybody thinks like incontinence or vocal cord dysfunction, it all happens at one time and that's it. You lose it. It comes and goes.
It comes and goes.
It'll get permanent at some point, but we do have some good days, and our good days though are probably most people's bad days. So
that's right.
Yeah,
they're still there.
That's right.
All right. Well, Paul, it's been great talking with you.
Well, thank you for having me on today.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Very well spoken.
I'd love to come back at some point and talk with you two again.
Oh, we'd love to have you come back. See how you're doing. Keep track of you. Well, thank you again, Paul. It's been very nice to have you on. I think every episode we have, we learn more and more, have more information for our listeners and our community to learn about MSA. And just remember, even though we're not patients, we're all MSA Crusaders.
That's right.
Absolutely. Thank you, Paul. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Daisy. It was a pleasure meeting you too.
Thank you.